Hello, my name is Abraham Valdez and I am with Breaking the Silence, New Mexico. We are a nonprofit organization that promotes mental health literacy, advocacy, and well-being for people across the great state of New Mexico. We aim to end the shame, silence, and secrecy surrounding mental illness and suicide through our education and personal stories. I have been with Breaking the Silence since September of 2024. I do this type of work because I understand how important it is with mental health and getting help, because I struggled a lot when I was in my teens with suicidal ideation. I was very, very depressed, and I understand the need for resources across the state. My pronouns are any pronouns. I am gender fluid. Now I'm just going to pass it over to my panel. Today we are going to be talking about mental health issues and some of the content that we educate people in New Mexico.
Hello, my name is Kristen. I am the lead facilitator with Breaking the Silence, New Mexico, and I've been with this organization for about 3 years now. And honestly, this mission means a lot to me. I have personally struggled greatly with my own mental health. I have, especially in college, I lost a lot of people that were very dear to me in my family and friends in various ways. And I was never taught about mental health in middle school or high school. And I just realized that there's such a need for this information, because when I was struggling, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go for help. So joining this organization really meant a lot to me. I go by she, her pronouns.
My name is Iratze. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm one of the facilitators' sister. I think that mental health is important because it can really change a person's way of being, and it can really affect someone, how they act towards people and how they act around family and loved ones. So I personally think that Breaking the Silence is a very good organization, and very thankful that they're helping out people struggling with their mental health.
My name is Adilene. I'm Iratze's sister, and I'm a facilitator with Breaking the Silence. I joined this organization in August of 2024, and I think, like my other coworkers have said, having that personal experience with mental health has made me want to do this kind of work, because I see firsthand that need for knowing the language surrounding mental health, knowing the resources that are there for you. My mental health journey started, I would say, around middle school, and I didn't have those resources at school. I didn't know how to talk about my symptoms. I didn't know how to deal with what was going on, and it was a long journey, and I think having this sort of information would have helped a lot, which is why now I like to try and provide that.
My name is Ysidra Tellez-Koch. I am the executive director of Breaking the Silence, New Mexico. I've been with this organization on and off since 2019. The organization, because the mission and vision really resonated with me, and I loved the fact that everyone in this organization has some type of personal story that we really try to connect with others in breaking down a lot of the stigma that continues to surround mental health and suicide. My personal journey with my mental health was started when I was about 9 years old, and I lost my sister to suicide. And growing up through that experience, I didn't really have the language to know what I was going through and how to reach out and get the help that I needed. Growing up in a small rural community in a Hispanic home, it was also a little bit challenging. And it wasn't until I was 27 that I was officially diagnosed with PTSD. And if I would have had the education in my school growing up, it would have looked a lot differently for me. And going into mental health and my education, I've learned that we all need to be having this conversation because it's a reality, and every one of us has mental health that we deal with, whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. So we're going to start off with just talking about mental health in general. Before I pass it on to everyone, I do want to share some statistics really quickly. So from the New Mexico Department of Health, they put a quarterly mental health surveillance report out. And this particular stats are from Q3 of last year. So it runs from July the 1st of 2024 to September 30th of 2024. This count is underrepresented because not all hospitals have reported. So this is data that was from emergency room departments, that's pulled from those emergency room departments. So inside of Q3, July 1st through September 30th of 2024, there was 1,467 youth ages 5 through 17 that visited an emergency room that included a mental health issue. 13,483 adults ages 18 and up visited an emergency room for a mental health issue. There were 119 youth ages 5 through 17 that had a visit related to a suicide attempt. 404 adults ages 18 and up visited an emergency room related to a suicide attempt. Males have the highest rate of the suicide attempts, and then females have the higher rates of the mental health issue visits. So all of these numbers are pretty alarming. This was just in that Q3, those 3 months. So that's really wild. And I also want to share some statistics from the Trevor Project. They put out a 2024 survey, and these are some of the results. So 24% of Native and Indigenous young people that were LGBTQ young people had attempted suicide in the past year. 16% of multiracial young people also attempted suicide within the last year. The statistics just show there's a lot of young people that are just trying to harm themselves, and it's alarming, and it should cause alarms for everybody. So I just want to go around and ask, like, what's your mental health like these days? When did your mental health become important? Have you spoken to others, and how do you even bring up that conversation? And we can start with Kristen.
All right, well, how's my mental health these days? That's a tough question. I think it really fluctuates a lot. Recently, my mental health has been good. I've been getting outside more, working out, doing those things that just make me feel good in day-to-day life. But I definitely struggled with previous relationships that really affected my mental health, brought me down a lot, and honestly kind of put me in some scary situations from time to time. So if you don't know what the mental health spectrum is, it's a spectrum where we range from green to red. In that time, while I was dealing with this difficult relationship, I was definitely in the red zone sometimes. And the red zone, that's not a good place to be. It took a lot of work and self-care to get me out of that headspace.
I feel like these days my mental health has been good. I've been getting closer to friends and family, which makes me happy. I think my mental health became important around 6th grade, whenever Breaking the Silence actually came to my school and did a presentation. I think a way that you can bring up mental health to others is just by asking them about if they're comfortable or if they've dealt with anything you've dealt with in the past, and seeing their experiences.
I think currently my mental health has been fluctuating a lot too. And I think it has to do with the different changes I'm going through. I just graduated and I'm getting used to that and getting used to solely focusing on work. That's been a big change for me. But I think referring to the mental health spectrum, I'd say I'm in the yellow change zone, because while I can be a little stressed sometimes, I feel that I have the tools, the self-care to get through it. I know I have people that support me. I have therapy. I go to therapy. So while I have my ups and downs, I think generally I feel prepared. I feel like I have the tools to get through that. But mental health has been important to me ever since I was young, ever since I was 11, 12 years old, because I think that's when I started noticing that my behaviors weren't what everyone else was going through, and that my experience was not the same as my classmates' experience. So I think that's when I started being conscious of just taking care of myself, because I was having different reactions to things than maybe my peers were. And yeah, I think like my sister said, I think speaking with others about mental health is important and not as intimidating as it should be. Just even asking like, hey, what's going on with you? How was your day today? Or how would you feel after this? And keeping tabs on people, keeping tabs on the important things going on in other people's lives, and being able to debrief with them.
Mine's been pretty challenging. I've tried really hard to be open about that. I recently lost my dad to cancer, so that has been a big challenge. And so I really have fluctuated, I think, from the orange to the red zone a lot, and it's been challenging to reach out for that. And it's weird that I say that, because we advocate for that. That's what we do. And you know, being in the role that I'm in as an executive director of this organization and being a clinical therapist myself, it's like, as much as we advocate for the well-being of others, it's sometimes we have, like, it's easy to feel like we have to hold it together, and then, you know, it's somehow still hard to reach out. And so I've been very open and honest with my husband about that, of just saying, look, like, this is where I'm at. And that can be scary and challenging, and I got myself back into therapy. And so I think in order for me to be, you know, ask for help, I had to be honest with myself, and I think that's a big part of where it starts, is being honest with yourself about how your mental health is doing. And so yeah, I do have those days where I'm in the change zone and the, you know, the green zones, and so just really kind of embracing those when I'm in that space, and being patient and kind to myself when I'm in those really bad zones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up. Like, you definitely have to take care of yourself and ask yourself those questions too. I struggle with my mental health. Last week I was like in the red zone. It was a really bad time. Like, you just look out and watch the news, and it's not anything fun. And in addition to everything that I've been through, or everything that other people have been through, so there's just a lot of like struggles that people are going through. But I found that going to therapy, and I go to a group therapy, I go to a men's group with the Rape Crisis Center. It's a survivors group, and it's been just like really life-changing, because before we started this men's group like last year, and it was only maybe 3 of us, and now there's like 5 of us. So it's unfortunate that we're in that situation, but we have that community, because it happens. Things happen, bad things happen, and sometimes you just need that support, and you need to know that you're not alone, which is really helpful. So yeah, I fluctuated from that red zone to like the yellow zone and the green zone. So I just kind of float back and forth. But I think with like how to bring up that conversation with people, it's something that I struggled with a lot. I personally don't like talking about things, period, regardless if it's mental health or just, I don't know, anything in general. I'm a very quiet person. I'm usually an introvert. My husband is the one who suggested that I seek therapy, which you could take that for what it is, but it was helpful. He was right. I was struggling. We moved from Texas to Albuquerque in 2020, like the middle of the pandemic, and it was very isolating, and extremely even more isolating that like we didn't know anybody. We moved here, we didn't know anybody. So yeah, it was a wild time, and he suggested I seek help, and I did, and it was great. It's been really great.
You know, I think it's so important that you brought up the fact that, you know, talking about your experiences with other people who have gone through similar things actually really helped, right? While it sucks that you did have to go through that, just knowing that other people are kind of going through the same thing, it can actually really help other people know that they're not alone. They do have support. They have people who understand them. And yeah, so I think it's really cool that you found or helped create that group.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's awesome.
And it's definitely like, I think a lot of people can relate of like, I don't want to talk about myself. And that's the big one that we talk about, what keeps people from reaching out, right? And that's a huge one, is I don't want to burden. You know, I don't want to worry. If I know that people around me are also stressed or overwhelmed, I don't want to put my stuff on them as well too. And I think that's something that I've experienced in my, you know, in my situation before as well. Is like, so then you end up trying to keep it even more together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those things I think I hear a lot from, or even I've said too, is like, you know, it's compartmentalizing. You know, you'd rather just shove your stuff in a drawer and just kind of forget about it until maybe that drawer becomes too full and things start spilling out, right?
It's a great metaphor.
Yeah. Or the drawer starts breaking.
Or the drawer breaks, yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you all for that.